we should talk to another receiver, because joining us right now is one of my favorite New York Jets of all time, the co-host of the Underdog Jets podcast with Robbie Sabo. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome number 80, Wayne Chrebet, to our megacast. Wayne, thanks so much for the time tonight, my friend.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah,
so I was going to ask
some of the promos, man. It's funny stuff.
I appreciate that. So first time getting you on, but I've watched you and Robbie for years, man. Did you know you wanted to do maybe something in media when you retired? Kind of take us through how you got involved in being a part of some of the Jets media stuff and working with Robbie.
You know what? I still work for the team, help out with sponsorships and all that, kind of like an ambassador. But I used to do people's podcasts all the time. And then I'm like, well, why don't I just have my own? And they kind of connected me and Robbie, and it's been great. We got good back and forth. We don't try to talk over each other like some maybe a little too happy, but yeah, we get along great. And Jets X Factor has some great out there.
Yeah, we describe it as two non-radio guys trying to do podcasting. It's as long as we can mix it up with the fans, it's all good. And the way I describe it is, you got the superstar, me, who everyone knows, and some guy who played for the Jets who happened to wear number 80.
Yeah.
That's right. So when we had Nick Mangold on our megacast last night, and I was asking him for some of his draft day memories. You have a very interesting story, obviously, being one of the more notable undrafted players to ever play in the league. Kind of take us through what your draft, or I guess maybe lack thereof, draft experience was like in the days following what happened after the Jets eventually brought you in.
You know what? I was actually day one of the draft was when they drafted Kyle Brady, and I heard him getting booed, and I was like, "Wow, that's about as rough as it can get." And they said maybe I had to get drafted by someone 6th or 7th round, but at that point, it's almost better not to. If you get some offers. So it was the Bengals, Saints, or the Jets offered me, and obviously being a Hofstra, the Jets was the right place, and they didn't really have any receivers. Rob Moore left, and really no veterans in career catches. So I go there, and 11 years later, I'm talking to you.
I heard Boomer Esiason say that he was impressed with you right away. Right, he of course was your first quarterback with the Jets. What do you remember about Boomer? How helpful was he early on in your career with the team?
You know what? He didn't believe in me. Right, I got in the huddle. And he looked at coach tight and he's like, "Are you serious?" And he was like, "Yeah, he's in there." And everybody calls me Q. No one calls me Wayne. And because he said that one day we're throwing around, he said Cubert. It was Cubert. I'm like, "Who are you talking to?" He's like, "You. That's your name, Cubert." I'm like, "No." And it was our first little hostility, and that kind of stuck. But like I said, no veteran receiver at that point, and he took me under his wing, he kind of told me how to be a pro and how to go about with the media and the fans. And I know, things didn't work out as good there, but he was a tremendous player, tremendous leader. And you see all he's done with, the Heroes Foundation and charity and stuff like that. So, yeah, I was lucky to play with him.
I blame Kotite for the Chevette get in there moment. That was the beginning of it, I believe.
Yeah, listen, Jake, you ever watch TV late at night and there's a B movie, like the guy gets the girl, scores a winning touchdown, all this stuff? That's my story. It's just something that, just doesn't make sense. I got a chance, things worked out, right place, right time. Did my best. And like I said, I got 11 years out of it. And, I'm grateful to the fans and the Jets. And, I couldn't have mapped out a better life for myself.
Wayne, did you get a sense when you were a player just how beloved you were by the fan base? You were kind of like the everyman player. You're the local guy, played at Hofstra, playing for the hometown Jets. Like, you were synonymous with just like blue collar, the New York sport fan. Did you get a sense as a player just how beloved you were? Or is it something maybe now that you're retired, you truly realize just the impact you had on the fan base?
No, I knew immediately. They kind of adopted me. So Long Island claims me as their own. New Jersey claims me as their own. Yeah, it just it's, the legend kind of grew. The story got even crazier. And And yeah, the fans took to me, and it's nice. You know, I go to the stadium, and you could, you know, young, old, black, white, rich, you know, somebody on a Harley, someone in a Mercedes. I mean, it's just, I hit, you know, mass amount of the fan base. And just, I go now, you know, I was there last night at the stadium. Just the amount of number 80s there is just mind boggling. And it's great because there's no other number 80 the last 30 years. So yeah, dude, it's tremendous, man. And the fact that I'm still local is just, you know, like I said, it's a dream.
Yeah, I mean, the way I describe it is legitimately, I don't think there's a more popular Jets player in history other than Namath. I mean, Namath is in a class of his own, but I don't think there is. I mean, Curtis Martin's up there, obviously. Klecko's up there for sure. But Wayne, you're right there. I mean, an 80s still flood MetLife today. I mean, it's not even a question.
I don't know. Jake is just.
Well, let me show you something, Wayne. Right here. I don't know. I'm using a different computer here. Let me show you your impact, Wayne, because look at this right here. As we flip the camera around, we got a Jet fan who's watching our Medicast, and look what jersey he's wearing.
Dude, he's worn that a couple times.
Yeah, I think that was your first jersey in your first game.
Yeah.
He said he bought it when they drafted Pennington in 2000.
Wow.
Nice.
Like I said, man, there's no other 80s. I don't know if there'll ever will be another 80. It would be weird, but yeah. So if you see an 80, unless someone knows Johnny Lamb Jones from back in the day, it's not like it's going.
And Jake, I tell Wayne, I try to get it out of him. He kind of dodges it because he wore 3 in the preseason in 95. Yeah. And I wonder if they had the jersey rules back then, would he have stuck with 3 or stuck with or went to the 80? Because back then they had to wear in the 80s pretty much.
Yeah. Listen, I was 3 at Hofstra, and they asked me in the last preseason game, equipment guy, if you did make the team, what number would you want? And I said, what's available? And they said 80, whatever in the 80s. And I'm a huge Large and Rice fan. I'm like, I would want to be 80. So the next day I go in, you know, the Turk came, knocked on the doors. Coach wants to see you, bring your playbook. So I walk in, and the number 3 Chrebet says 80 Chrebet. And I'm like, looking around, I called my mom, they're like, did you make it? I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, ask somebody. I'm like, I'm not asking anybody. So I just went to meetings, and no one told me to go home. But when I saw the 80 up there, that kind of told me that I made the team.
Did you have a moment early on in your career, Wayne, where you kind of felt like you made it as an NFL player, or because of your backstory, did you feel like every year you were still trying to prove yourself?
Yeah, I was always like that. It didn't matter what year I was in. You know, there's always younger guys and cheaper guys fighting for your spot. And I welcomed that. And later in my career, I welcomed kind of like being a mentor to, you know, the guys there. It was just good. It was a good situation to be in. I had some really good head coaches, 2 great owners. And I know I caught passes from like 14, 15 guys. But I play with some really good quarterbacks. And everybody knows me and Vinny, and, you know, with Chad, and those were my best years.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks, you know, Garrett Wilson has caught passes from 8 different quarterbacks his first 2 years with the Jets. He's the first Jet to ever have back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons to start his career. From one receiver to another, what stands out when you watch Garrett Wilson play with the Jets?
Yeah, when he was coming out and we were looking at the film, by far he got the most separation in and out of his cuts, tremendous speed, quickness, making a tough catch. You know, and he's kind of doing it by himself last year. So now you put a guy across from him or a guy next to him, and you have his quarterback there, and Aaron Rodgers. The sky's the limit for him.
Yeah,
he's a nice kid, and man, he's gonna break all the records if he sticks in the green and white his whole career.
Yeah, we were drilling down. I remember, Wayne, Drake London versus Garrett Wilson 2 years ago.
Yeah, it wasn't even close.
You kept harping on Wilson, his sixth sense, especially in the middle of the field, where he could see left and right, and he just knew the routes to run. Yeah. I mean, like he attacked blind spots of the DBs. I know you said, and that's a key when you're evaluating college kids. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Wayne, in your career, you played for a bunch of different coaches with the Jets, but I want to rattle off a couple of them, and I'm sure you could maybe have a story or two that you could share with the audience. Is there one story about Bill Parcells that stands out?
Oh, Parcells. See, I grew up a Giant
Parcells story for us.
Giant and Jet fan, but going to a Giants game, like my bucket list, one of them was to Gatorade Bill Parcells. He came in. I was a couple years in, and he's from New Jersey. He's like, he calls me the Great Wayne Chrebet. The Great Wayne Chrebet. There he is. He can't do nothing wrong. Everybody loves him. And he goes to me, he says, if you don't listen to me, your career's going downhill faster than a dump truck with a cement parachute. That's what he said to me. And I'm like this guy, but you played for him. Like, he kept you on your toes. Like, he cut like a veteran out of the blue. But when you won, it was so much fun. Like, you didn't mind, working hard, doing anything. And he turned us around quick. And up in Buffalo, we won the East. And I Gatorated him. Nice Buffalo weather in mid-January. And it was one of the highlights. And I do believe if he would have hung around, that we would have got a ring at some point.
Didn't he kick your ankle too, just to test it out?
Yeah, I had a high ankle sprain. I was on crutches, and he comes over and just kicks me in it. And I'm like shocked. And he's like, no, I just wanted to see if you're hurt. I'm like, I'm effing, I'm like, yeah, I'm hurt. He did, he did stuff like that. Like when we were winning, we had a day, it's like, go in and kind of get a shakeout practice, get the soreness out. We did like the fat boy relays. 3 receivers would hold the biggest O lineman, and 3 DBs, the biggest D lineman, and we'd race there and back, and like just stupid stuff. And he made it enjoyable, and I get a chance to see him up at Saratoga at the racetrack every year and share stories. And he's, I value our friendship and my time with him.
You're tuning in live right now. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and of course, JetsXFactor.com with Robbie, Michael Nania, Joe Blewett, Andrew Fialco. The list goes on and on with the great coverage. Plus, the podcast that Robbie and Wayne do, the Underdog Pod. Make sure you get it where you get your podcast. So, Wayne, I asked you about Parcells. I mean, the Jets haven't won a division title since you were on the team with Coach Herm back in 2002. Do you have a favorite Herm Edwards story you could share with the fans?
I don't necessarily like specific stories. It used to be like people ask me who my favorite coach was. Obviously, Coach I gave me my chance, and he means a lot to me. And, people say like, it was the best thing to come out of that. And I understand just based on record alone. And Parcells, like I said, it was always my first reaction. But with Coach Herm, is like, he was so motivating. It's such a great guy, great family guy, very religious, but didn't push it on you. And at that point in my career, he took care of me. He took care of the vets, with the concussions and stuff. He's like, do you want to play in preseason? I said, I'd like to. He said, listen, warm up, put your baseball hat on and cheer for the young guys, help the young guys. No sense on getting hurt in preseason. And he'd be the first one there running around the field. He'd cover guys and one-on-ones. And the thing that you notice more, he would sit in the back of the plane by the bathroom with his wife and just let the players do their thing. And it was the first coach that had the coaches move up from first class to the back, and he put the vets in first class. And I always appreciated that, but he just a great guy. And like I said, at that point in my career, it was perfect. And again, just a guy I have great memories with.
Who were some of your favorite teammates that you got a chance to play with during your time with the Jets?
Oh man, I mean, I played with so many, different guys, different personalities. If I'm with Lavernius last night, the draft party at the stadium. LC's my guy. We're kind of like brothers from a different mother. He's 2-second story. Yeah, when he came in and he saw me in the locker room, he said he looked at me and he was like, that's Wayne Chrebet, and he said he called his mom and he said, I'll be starting in a week. That's what he said to his mom. And then we get on the field and he's like, okay. He's like, I get it now. And he had a chip on his shoulder. He wasn't drafted where he should have been. And I just looked at him. I was like, I like this guy, and became close friends. And I think that crew, me, him, and Santana, you can't find a better trio than when the three of us were together. Obviously Vinny, we were always close. Those teams with Beck and those guys and Curtis. But I have to say, without Lavery, one of my favorite players I played with was Brian Cox. Guys out there with a broken leg, guys out there, I feared playing against him, playing with him, but all those guys, Mo and Marvin, Victor Green, Aaron Glenn, Marcus Coleman, those were the years. Going all the way back to Boomer, and those freaking, Adrian Morrell, Richie Anderson, these guys kind of like took me in. I got to camp, I'm 21 years old, Boomer's close to 40. So they took me in and they helped me get where I was.
Wayne, so many people from like my generation and the generation prior, like we don't have many great offensive seasons in Jet history, but you were a part of that 98 season with Vinny, you, Keyshawn, Curtis Martin. I mean, just that year alone, 12 wins, which still to this day is a Jet record in a single season. What do you remember the most? What do you take away the most from that prolific 98 season with you, Vinny, and everyone?
That's the record, the best 12 wins.
Yeah, no Jet team has ever won more than 12 games in a season.
Yep. Yeah, so that year, Curtis and Vinny, just that team was built to win. And if you go back and look with me and Key, statistically, I think we led, me and him, tandem duo, whatever you want to call it. Statistically, we led the league. And it was a great pairing because people don't realize that, listen, we weren't going to go out and break bread with each other. Even though we would see each other out, it wasn't an issue as people made it out to be. Listen, I was, undrafted. He was the first pick. It was just, you would think we clashed as much as people thought we did. But
Wayne,
together,
too, on field, exactly. You guys were always, from a fan's point of view, we're always in sync. I mean, when you caught a ball, the other was always the first to congratulate the other. So, on field, it was more of an off the field media type sensation story. On field, there was no issues.
Jake, you got to remember, like, he wrote this book and he mentioned me like 20 times. And I was just joking he kept asking me every day, day after day, about me and him. And I just said, I was like, I think he's got a crush on me that he mentioned me that many times. We could, like, if I saw him, dab him, give him, how you doing? Like, there's no issue there. But that Tampa game, everybody loves the Tampa game.
Yes.
Like pass and all that. Obviously, poetic justice for what he said, but
that must have meant something a little extra, though, right, Ray?
Yeah.
Like, it's got to be human nature.
Dude, 100%. But he drew so much attention to the book and me that he gave me national notoriety. Like, people tuned in and people like maybe said, oh, who's this Wayne Chrebet guy and this and that. But together, people don't realize, like, if he didn't do his job, I could get hurt. And if I didn't do my job, we really, like, kind of fed off each other. But if you're not on the same page, it's dangerous to the other receivers. So together, inside the white lines, he was one of the best receivers I played with.
Hey, Schwarzenegger too. Don't forget about him. Shouting
I'd be remiss. Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah,
that's got to be awesome as well. Wayne, I'd be remiss before we wrap up here if we didn't ask you about the present state of the New York Jets. What did you make of the Olu Fashanu pick last night and the overall offseason? Are you encouraged by what Joe Douglas has done, kind of revamping up this roster with Aaron coming back?
Yeah, listen, they're building a fortress in front of them, and it's the right pick. It's not the sexy pick. Everybody wanted Brock or Bowers or move up for receiver, this and that, but it's the right pick. I think it's easier to find a good young or quality receiver in rounds 2, 3, 4 than find a tackle of that caliber, young tackle in those rounds. So it's the right move. You got older guys, but you need almost like 2 starting fives on the line. And essentially you got four guys, 4 new guys, if you include Vera Tucker coming back. So they're doing what needs to be done, but there's still some work to do.
No doubt. And You know, it's interesting, Wayne, because I've heard so many like great slot receivers kind of credit you. I think it might have been either Julian Edelman or Wes Walker. Someone called you the godfather of the slot receiver. What have you made of like the amount of receivers we now see that are under 5'10" that are going in the mid rounds of the draft and sometimes even higher?
Listen, like I said, I told Robbie I went out to eat with Edelman and Amendola. They were in this town, and I somehow connected. I took them out. And they had said, like, we don't call you Wayne, we call you the Godfather of slot receiver. And I was humbled by it. And it was funny because something spilled, like, oh, you almost got that on the Godfather. And I'm laughing. I was humbled because they're such great players. And I appreciate them kind of carrying the torch. I know Amendola had a poster of me. And that wasn't a thing back then, being a slot receiver and third down receiver. And to be honest with you, I didn't embrace it, because I was like, oh, no, I could do it on first, second down. And I talked to my dad about it. And I said, you know what? If they're going to call me a slot receiver or third down receiver, I just said that I'm going to be the best there ever was. And now it's the position. Now people are drafted just to play the slots. So, yeah, it's nice to be one of the pioneers freaking 30 years ago.
That's as good as it gets. Something crazy just happened to the sports book here where I'm at in Vegas. But Wayne, I can't thank you enough. I speak for all the Jet fans that are tuned in. You are a forever Jet. You're synonymous with the history of the franchise. And hopefully the current 2024 Jets can create some memories for this fan base like you and some of the teams you played on certainly did.
Jake, have faith. I keep telling people, I say this every year. It's like, have faith. But yeah, we're due, man. We're due, and I think it'll happen. But I appreciate you having me on, Jake.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great Wayne Chrebet, Robbie Sabo, the Underdog Podcast. Gentlemen, Robbie, thank you so much for making this happen. And Wayne, keep up the great work, man. Jet fans are proud to have you part of our history.
Thank you.